Hi, this is Jeffrey Seif. I'm here with Linda Lamb on Saturday afternoon. Linda is part of an art dinner that French Doors is putting on the 22nd of March. So Linda, you're an interior designer.
That is true, Jeff.
Okay.
I've had a professional firm for about 44 years back in California.
Okay. And how long have you been a painter in addition to an interior designer?
You know, I've been a creative all my life and since childhood, and I've been painting for about 25 years, but mostly behind the scenes. And so really since my move here to San Miguel, it's the opportunity to paint more.
Okay. Is there a connection between interior design and the kind of paintings that you do?
Very much.
Okay. Can you tell us about that?
Well, the very principles of design intrinsically inform art, balance and scale and color and all those things that you bring to an interior professionally inform how you approach your art in a very real way.
But when you're doing interior design, I'll offer this, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're thinking about the client. You're thinking about what kind of atmosphere you're providing for them in whatever room you're designing or whatever it is that you're designing.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, always. So there's somebody there saying yes and no. When you're doing your own artwork, there's no one saying yes or no except you. So this sounds like a silly question, but it's not. What are you trying to do?
Well, as an abstract artist, I think one of the most amazing takeaways for me is that you really get to bring and allow your authentic creative expression. So it's not for a client, it's really for yourself. And, I respect and admire realism and painters that do landscapes and so forth, but abstract painting really requires that you really get in touch with what's going on for you in the moment. And so it's a very different and sometimes tricky thing.
Well, stylistically, you're going to something abstract from something which is not necessarily abstract.
That's true.
Do you find, are there color correlations or form correlations between what you paint and did when you were working for clients?
I would say not necessarily.
Okay.
Because again, it's an everyday, always changing occurrence. Creative expression changes as our life does. So things you feel and are drawn toward one day may not be the same the next. Okay. And that's the beauty of it.
And are you hoping that a viewer will have the same, well, kind of a stretch, but are you hoping that they will somehow be close to the same emotional experience that you have?
That is a wonderful, wonderful question. And I think also the tricky part about abstract art, because they don't get to see a horse or a landscape or a seascape. So I think the beauty of that is it really allows an opportunity for a viewer to get in touch with seeing through new eyes and, see what they see what they feel, or really get in touch with how they feel about the art. And, it's really fun to see. I mean, someone could look at a painting and say, gee, I feel this cosmic explosion. And another person says, gee, I feel this really intense energy. So I love that the viewers get that very personal chance to embody for themselves what my art brings to them.
Is it fun watching people go through that experience?
I love it. Yeah, it's really fun and interesting at the same time. And I name my pieces. So sometimes that gives them a clue as to maybe what the energy is about. But many times they'll see something that I didn't even see before in my own art. So it's really, really fascinating.
Okay. I have the art dinner coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's an exciting opportunity to share art in a personal environment. The chef that Victoire lines up is amazing, and my understanding is that he's actually using the art as a way of springboarding into his menu. So it'll be a fun group.
Okay, great. All right, well, we look forward to it, and thank you very much.
I'm here today with Shinji Miyazaki, an architect, painter, and all-around design man. His paintings will be displayed at the art dinner next week, and hopefully he'll be there as well.
Yeah.
So just a few questions to get you to talk a little bit about your work.
Yeah.
As I said, you're an architect and a designer. So
Yeah.
you're an architect by training and a painter by...
Natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the connection then, do you think, between architecture and painting? Is there a natural progression there?
Yeah, actually, so when I was young, back in old days, before I started studying architecture, I always sort of admired artists.
Right.
And I always wanted to become an artist. But then, my school teacher said her husband was actually an artist. And she said, maybe you can always be an artist in the future. Maybe you should study architecture and then come back. Yeah. Well, she didn't explain to me like in details, but
This is purely a piece of practical advice, I assume.
Yeah. And then I think the biggest impact was pandemic. So I started this painting. I call it, it's not a painting, it's a phenomenon.
Okay.
So this series started during the pandemic, back in 2020, September. And purely because I didn't know anybody here in San Miguel. I was sort of locked down inside, quarantined inside my house, and I started playing with the water. So water droplets, and I felt like the present moment is such a precious moment. So I started collaborating with those water droplets. So that was the starting point. I always loved painting, like urban sketches, etc. I used to sketch a lot with the watercolor every time I travel around the world. But this one, I call it like a phenomenon because it's all about the life of each water droplet. And they taught me like a lot of things about the beauty of life. So that's why I kind of started exploring this new adventure.
Okay, well, when you say that taught me something about life, you're talking about your first attempts to create these paintings or phenomena.
Yeah.
It strikes me a little bit, and maybe I'm way off base here. Maybe I think it's difficult to believe you wouldn't even have thought of this, but there's a sense of pointillism in it. I mean, and to the point where rather than going into an actual painting or a graphic, it's gone totally abstract, which I think if you follow any kind of theory, that's where you ultimately will end up.
Yeah.
But can you talk about that a little bit?
So this is also came out naturally because my profession is designing, building, and interior architecture, and the building itself. So there's so many restrictions and requirements. So it's not just about aesthetics. It's all about the practicality and functionality, etc. It's a fantastic job, but I love I have a passion to this profession, but art, I mean, this, painting or, creating this phenomenon, it's just by intuition. So there's no structure, just by, my brush tells me where to put or something. And then maybe water droplet tells me where to be placed. So that's like a huge impact for me, to me.
Well, what prompted the water droplets?
So this one, I always carry, this is like my standard tools I use for the traveling sketching. It's a pilot product which has like water inside the brush, and it's an off-the-shelf product I always carry, and it is my tool.
And what's it for originally?
It's originally for painting watercolor in general.
So what, you put the color on the canvas and kind of
you have like a portable watercolor palette and then this brush with water inside. So you don't need to carry water container.
Right.
So it's like combined one. So I just kind of started using this tool to place water droplet and then inject inside the water, the colors inside the water droplet.
So how long does it take to do?
So one of these depends on the sizes and amount of water droplets, but normally it takes, for me, maybe a few hours, but for them, takes a day or sometimes 3 days to get dried out.
And does
So-
it change as it's drying?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know what's coming, or
This is the beauty of
Okay.
unexpectation. So
Okay.
there's always like surprise,
right?
and that's the part of the beauty of this phenomenon.
Okay.
It's almost like our life. Accident is part of our
Yeah.
our life, but the accident is actually a good thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Can be.
Okay. Okay. Very much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you on Friday for the French Doors Art Dinner.
Thank you very much.
All right.